I'm Jackie, and this is The Natural Healing Wheel. I'd like to welcome my guest today, Anissa Reilly, and we have quite a show in store for all of us. So welcome, Anissa. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor and privilege, and thank you, audience, for listening and tuning in.
Yeah, so there's quite a little bit of a bio here, so I'm going to read it off the paper. I hope that I couldn't memorize it all. I'd like to just share some of the things that I will share about where you have been and what you've been up to. So Dr. Reilly has been an educator for over 30 years. She received her undergraduate degree from Morgan State University in Baltimore, her master's from Bank Street College, and her doctorate from the Sage Colleges of Albany. Right now, she's the president and owner of Giant Step 6 LLC, which we're going to get into. Her passion is not only develop nationally, but global leaders so that they can all lead effectively. That's cool. Dr. Reilly has recently received proclamations from New York State Senator Jose Serrano from Canada. Did I say that right?
Yes.
I always screw up everybody's names because I have like a little phobia. And New York City Councilwoman Vanessa Gibson for her assistance in improving the lives of the people in her community. Wowzers. Yes. She's the host of Ask Dr. Reilly Show and released her first book, 5 Buckets of Leadership, Speaking in the Moment.
Yes.
About a year ago. So it's an amazing resume. And I know that there's more probably to add to it, but I just wanted to kind of just give our audience a bit of what you've been up to, because it's quite a bit.
Yes. So, well, thank you for reading that in. Like the beginning of the statement said, and I've been in education for over 30 years. For the last 17, I've been the principal of an elementary school, which has been exciting, and I am soon to be transitioning to a full-time consultant. I started my own business, Giant Step 6 LLC, and with any entrepreneur person or endeavors, there comes a moment when you are working your 9 to 5 where you just make that decision. Now is the time to be a full-time entrepreneur. So that is what I'm doing.
Good for you. Yeah, it just becomes too much, right?
Yes.
I actually was at one of the big speakers that I love to listen to said to challenge ourselves to not multitask anymore.
Yes.
Challenge ourselves to do one task at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh my gosh, this is the best thing I've heard forever, because, when you have a bunch of brain trauma and stuff, and then you go to do the multitasking, it's not so good.
Yeah.
You're falling out of your hands. But to hear that, it's really ineffective, because we've all been working so hard at that for so many years.
And that's how we've learned how to move and sustain ourselves. And it's funny when you become intentional, as you just described, it's like uncomfortable because you're like, wait a minute, I should be doing, and you just have to recondition yourself to say, no, I'm going to focus all of my energy on this one single concept to get the maximum results. And
be okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's going to be some programming in there, because I think my whole life I watched 2 workaholic parents do it all,
Yeah.
And so hence, the leader type thing, and it's not effective.
No. And then we as women are already like built that way to multitask, right? And so when we're like, no, multitasking, we're like, no, I have to do this for the kids, myself, this and that. But we just have to learn how to, as we said, recondition, move your energy in the most productive way possible. That is not a detriment to yourself physically and mentally and emotionally.
Yeah. And just that, I read that and I was like, oh, like milk's good for you. And then all of a sudden, oh, milk's not good for you. Like it's kind of one of those, right? It's like,
yes.
To have the awareness of that's great. So now they're saying that that's not even good for us. We're not actually getting anything. We're not. So, but I think that that's a message that needs to be out there so that we can start to not guilt ourselves when we're not doing 5 things at a time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
tell us about your business that you've opened up. What's the name of it again?
Yes. So Giant Step 6
Six.
LLC. The heart of the business is really to develop leaders, professional leaders, whatever capacity you are in, whether it's your own personal leadership growth or professional. But it was born out of the fact that as a leader, I experienced a lot of professional leadership trauma, right?
Uh,
And I think that that area hasn't been talked about as much because I know that there are a lot of leaders who have experienced trauma when they took on the role or sat in the seat or just had the heart to make change and do right by the company they've been asked to lead or start their own company. They just wanted to do good and not realizing that there are people who don't want good happening. There
yeah,
are
what is
people,
that?
yeah. I,
That's
I
a
mean, the
life
way
lesson. You have to learn that people aren't good. Like
the
I thought that all people were good until they proved you wrong. Apparently, that's
yes,
not how you do it.
but yeah, but I think you know what I've come to kind of describe it in the way that when you are into you just talking about milk, so I think this is apropos, but I think when people are no longer getting milk from a golden calf and the leader comes in and stops that flow of the false milk that they're getting from the golden calf, then they go into like protective mode and they see you as a threat. They perceive you as the threat, not because you are actually the threat, but because they've been getting milk from the golden calf for so long. From,
Yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah.
and
That's
so
powerful.
yeah, the survival instinct kicks in, which in their mind is not anything other than protecting their space. And they're not able to widen their blinders, widen the, what they have on to see that it's really toxic. Um, and if you don't have someone that's a mentor, that's a coach, that's a sounding board for you as a leader, then it's very traumatic. It's extremely traumatic.
Yeah.
People get cancer, people have died, people's marriages have failed, people have lost confidence in themselves, have lost the will to do. People have eaten themselves into a stupor. Um, and we know that, from many sad stories on Wall Street, people have, committed the unfortunate word suicide, have taken their own lives around things that happen in leadership. And so um, I've been there, I've done that. And I know for me, it was only by God's graces that my mentor came into my life because I was professionally depressed. I was still moving, I was functioning, but I was still depressed as a leader. And when he came into my life and he recognized that, he assisted me and pulled me out the abyss and reminded me that I am great at what I do, regardless of what is happening. And it's because of me being great at what I do is why those things are happening, because I'm disrupting the status quo. I'm dismantling um, antiquated thoughts and practices, and that's what we need. And so he's one person, and so he can't do it all by himself. And so I was like, I need to get in this space to help not only those leaders, but women as well, because women, we have a different set of trauma that happens to us outside of being leaders. So giant step is you work with me, you'll take that giant step forward, not a baby step, but you'll take a giant step forward. So
Yeah. That's incredible. And just having the awareness of that is the first step too. I believe that's invaluable, actually, just going through kind of this myself. And we're coming into this time of the rising of the divine feminine, right? We're finally
yes,
coming into our power, which is an amazing thing to watch. Like we're blessed to be here at this time, but also um, there's a big fight on about it right now, and it's like a psychic almost war.
yes, yes.
And it's been quite an interesting awareness and awakening to all of that.
Yes, yes.
So, and I don't know that there's many, like, it's kind of like I'm just, you're figuring it out kind of as you're going, because we're on these new paths that we haven't traveled yet, right? And it's uncomfortable, like you say, it's not comfortable. But the other stuff's not comfortable anymore either, because now we're seeing that's a pattern and that's yucky.
I think the pandemic just stopped us and blew up what we thought is possible. You know, we thought, oh, this is what it's supposed to always be, and it blew that theory up. But it also cleared the way for people to reevaluate, to reimagine, to reset, and to activate any plans that they had left dormant that they thought they could never achieve. And so I'm just happy to walk alongside leaders to help them realize that their greatness.
That's huge. That's huge. Those are big shoes you're filling there, girl. I love it. Wow. Like,
Yeah.
just, and I mean, you clearly have the education to stand there and say, you know what, I am enough to do this. Thank you very much. That's great.
Thank
So
you.
so what does something like that look like? If somebody comes and trains under you, what does that look like?
So I've been fortunate enough to find a system that is working. That's what the six stands for. So there are six. I mean, the six has two meanings, but the second meaning is the six-step process that I engage leaders in. It's all around, being aware and practicing and just probing, just really getting into your thought process and really evaluating your inner monologue. Because I think so oftentimes leaders are moving at this fast pace that they don't get an opportunity to listen to what's being said in their subconscious and in their thought process. And so a lot of the times they're reactive when they're in the moment, what's going to work, what feels best. But I help and I coach them to be cognizant of what's happening on the inside so that they can work with their brain, especially when their brain is under stress. And so I take them through this whole six-step process, and then they put it into action and they practice it, and then we come back and we really talk about what happened when these instances arise where it called upon them to be a leader in the moment at a crisis, or even at a moment that is not crisis, but you just were like, sure. And then 5 minutes later, you're like, why did I just say that? Like, why did I just say sure? I didn't even think about why I said yes. And now I have a whole nother um, job on my plate, right?
Yeah.
Right. But, just being really clear about who you are as a leader and making those steps forward to make you the best leader that you can be. So that's the process. That's something that came about because one of my mentees really began to probe my thinking about how did I get to this place? And she really forced me to slow down my own thought process. And so that is how I packaged it to assist others so they can be successful as well.
Yeah, you put a formula together, right?
Yeah.
And that's, I think, when we're doing great and all of a sudden things we're getting it, we're like, oh, I'm never going back there again, right? And then all of a sudden, and then the next morning you wake up and you're like, oh, energetically, I'm here again, right? And you're like,
Yes. Yes.
okay, what did I do the other day? And of course, you don't remember. And we haven't written it. Like, so it really is invaluable to have something that we follow. And myself just not going back to work for the first time, kind of just after the COVID and everybody was home, which was such a great break. It was such a horrible thing, but at the same time, I don't think we could have gone any faster.
Right.
I could have done one more thing in a day. Like, it was just, right. I believe all of us felt like that, right? We're just running. And I just lost the point of what I was saying, but just being at home and having that different, yeah. I'll let you carry on because I lost the point of what I was trying to
No,
say.
I think that what I gather from what you were trying to communicate is around the fact that when you notice something that's happening, you can put a plan together, formulate a way of escape, and then put it into action. Like, that's the most important thing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Whether that's a formula or just a plan, whatever word you want to use, but putting something on paper and then sharing it. Like, this is what I've learned that has helped me get from point A to point B. And it would behoove me to share it with you, my fellow human, because you can use it the way that it's written out, or you can build on it. But I'm showing you where the next step is, because I've learned that this is how you can move from point A to point B
It is.
smoother, you know?
It really is. And I think that if you don't have, okay, so that was my point, was not having a schedule. So my whole life, right, in hairstylists and appointments, and right, you're just running on schedules all the time. And then all of a sudden I don't have a schedule. And
Mhm.
all this stuff and break, like it was just it's been such a challenge. And so the better, I know what I need to do, and I know that there's these options, right? But I think like the routine is very, very tough. I'm not sure how many times I can get in my own way. I know it's
Yeah,
resistance. I know I'm doing it when I'm doing it. Like, it's just silliness.
yeah.
Right. And we have to do that to change our
Yeah,
ways, change
and
this.
it's been said that we as humans are creatures of habits, right? That's what it's been said. And so I think that we have noticed that we are those creatures of habit, because when we have this routine, people like routine, right? And I think when the pandemic happened and it dismantled the routine, that's when people kind of like had a little anxiety, kind of didn't know what to do, because now the routine was disrupted, and the fact that we're creatures of habit was no longer the case. But like we're talking about, it gave us an opportunity to breathe, right?
Yeah.
And reevaluate. And I think that's the part that we've forgotten, that not only are we creatures of habit, but we are creatures that have the ability to evaluate, think critically, and analyze, right? And sometimes we get so caught up in our habits
Yeah.
and our routines that we forgot what, is really the distinctive nature between us and the animal kingdom. We think, we evaluate, and we can choose differently. We don't act on instincts.
Yeah.
And that's why I think some of us have come out of the pandemic freer, um, understanding that they are the masters of their destiny, um, taking those risks, noticing their gifts again, and taking that step forward to pursue those ideas that may have laid dormant because of the routine and the habit.
Yes. And it's so busy that then we don't have to step into those shoes either, right?
Yeah.
Which is another way where we're just too busy to get there. So it's just, we don't even know that it's avoidance on our side,
Hmm.
right? We're just, yeah, I think that this information, I've been learning and really working through this information for a while, like a little while now.
Hmm.
And it's incredible just to see where they came from and how long they've been running, and the core of that, or whatever that we're avoiding, is
Hmm.
usually the same. It's the same, but it comes in all these different stories, and so we don't think it's the same thing or the same problem. We think it's them that we're in the
Right.
issue with, right? Like, it's just so incredible how we've just not been educated in how we function properly in this universe. Like, what
Yeah.
you're teaching and leading, and teaching leaders to lead this. I think it's I'm not sure if, because you're struggling in torment of the right, and then you get more of that, and unless you do what you're talking about, you stay there.
Yeah.
And it
It,
probably gets worse, I imagine, as we get older. It probably just keeps building.
but it's interesting you say that, because I don't know if you've heard of David Hawkins,
Yep.
and he talks about the levels of consciousness, right? And when you familiarize yourself, I think when you familiarize yourself with David Hawkins' level of consciousness, you realize the energy levels you are operating on and why you may feel the way that you're feeling or why you're experiencing what you're experiencing. And so as you heighten your level of consciousness, then you're moving into those power areas where you feel more powerful, you show up more powerful, you are being more powerful, as opposed to fighting the force and pushing against it and stuff like that. So that's what I hear you talking about when you are sharing what you're just sharing.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Just jumping in, going down in the flow of the river, right?
Yeah.
Instead of fighting and going uphill, which I think most of us all are doing because we're trying to get there faster, or we're just not aware that there is a flow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so is there like, what do you do webinars? Do you do
Yeah.
group stuff? Like what does learning all about this and doing your course, what does that look like for somebody? Is it a 6-month thing? Is it like, how does it look? Is it expensive? Right? That's what people want to know, right? Can I afford this? I don't
Right.
know how you can't
So,
afford it, first of all. So you can't afford not to have this information.
right. You can't afford not to have it. That's
Yeah.
exactly the right thing to say, especially, before I directly answer that, when we talk about Michael Phelps, like Michael Phelps was a great swimmer. Michael Phelps was already an Olympic gold medalist, but he even realized that he needed a coach, right? And he talks about, if anyone knows Michael Phelps's story, he talks about how at one point he was like, I'm not listening to what my coach is telling me. I know I'm good and I'm this, and he brushed him off. And that's when he wasn't at his best. And then he realized he needed to do some of the things that his coach was now asking him to do, which was some things were different. And when he gave in to his new coach and was listening to his coach and implementing the new things that his coach had asked him to do, is when he's made history. And so the question is, so I'm sure, even being a gold medalist, do you want to make history? Like, you're a great leader, but do you want to make history? How much of an impact do you want to make? Right. And I'm sure that coach may have costed him a lot. I don't know. I mean, we can say he's a gold medalist, so maybe the Olympics paid for it, but he had his own private one. And so how much you're willing to spend depends on where you want to go. Do you want to make history? Do you want to leave a legacy? Then that's what you need to do. The same thing with Simone Biles. She has made history to the point where she just received a Medal of Honor. Some people may not agree that she should have received it because she's a gymnast, but if you look at her track record and what she has done for the sport, is no less than a miracle than the feats that Simone Biles has accomplished, and the gymnast tricks and moves that she can make is incredible, right? But that comes from a coach. So I say all that to say my coaching, I'm not going to say I'm a legacy building coach, but I will have impact with whomever I make, where you would be able to define your legacy, set your legacy, and I dare say make history with you being a leader. I do it, I customize it. It's very important because each leader is different. So my sessions are customized, and it is first a free consultation just so I can speak with you, hear you, um, able to mull around what it is that you're saying with me. Some people know that they were born to sing, born to dance. They'll say, I was born to do this. I know that my gifting is to develop leaders. I know that I was born with the leadership gene, skill set. I know that about me. That's my gifting. And so in order for me to operate properly in my gifting, it takes me a minute to I have to talk with you. I have to ask you a few questions. I have to listen to you. And just like a ball player, I heard a ball player say when the ball is being thrown at them at 98 miles an hour, it actually looks like slow motion, right? I've heard many ball players say that the ball looks like it's coming to them in slow motion. To me, it looks like it's coming like a foul. I'm about to get hit with it. But for the person who's born to play ball, slow motion. So I use that same analogy as for me as a leader. As soon as I talk to you, like all of a sudden I start to see how to develop you to be the best. So it's customized. There will be hybrid courses that I engage in. There is the generic courses that soon will be online, but for the most part, it's one-on-one, customized work, because leadership is different for each person.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
And so that's how it comes about. Cost is something that we can talk about because the customization is what it is. You may only need one session. You just may need to go do what you know to do. That may be that may be what it is. Or you may be someone who I say, we need 6 months together. We need 12 months together.
Yeah.
So that's the long answer to
Yeah. Well,
how much
and
it costs.
that's a great answer because everybody, it is all individualized, and some people have done a lot of work and are going to just pop and kind of go, and others are all new. You know, I believe that right now to a lot of the people that don't understand, you know, when we're talking this, I just assumed that everybody understood what I was talking about, but apparently not. It's just like talking all weird again. They just tuned me out and it was like, okay, I didn't realize that, right? And but they need to know now. They want to know because they're going to be able to live and be able to manage the stress and there's people like you said with businesses. I had a girlfriend phone me and they lost 3 family friends to suicide in 1 month. 1 month. Just they couldn't, you know, like they just couldn't see their way through. And the fear that COVID brought and the nonstop barrage and the, you know, it just and I think people getting laid off and just the unsocial. I think it just really did a number on a lot of us, right? So I think that, you know, you speaking up and then sharing, like, you know, people, we have to lead. And we're not really sure where we're leading to. So there's not really we're creating that path now, I believe. Do you as well? So it gets to look like however we want it to.
It is. I mean, there are some core principles that I know are indicative of great leaders that we do build upon, but for the most part, it's finding the person where they are and meeting them where they are and what they understand and and helping them get to where they want to go. So, you know, if you are someone who is not even clear about where you are, then I hope you get clear about where you are. If you are someone who is clear about where they are but don't know where you want to go, then I hope you kind of define that and let you know that it's okay to think big and dream, because it costs nothing to dream and it costs nothing to think big, but you got to have an idea of where you want to go. And if you are someone who knows both of those, but just don't know how to marry the two or get from what you where you are to where you want to go, then I hope you do that. And if you're someone who's stuck, help you get unstuck. But it's all, like I said, individual. And some people may say, well, you're only one person. But when you're gifted to do something, you have the grace to do it. So I have the grace to work with people in this area.
You know, when you say that, so I was a hairstylist for 30 years. And so we would talk for that few minutes and I'd take like a snapshot in my head. And then that was it. It was there. Like, you know, I created it in my head and I'd be like 3 hours, cut color foils, right? But exactly what you said, it was done in that first few, it was that vision. And if you can see it, then you don't need to, you know, then if you're starting to question yourself, then all of a sudden you're going sideways, right? So when you said that, you spoke right to me. I totally understood that. Oh yeah, good. That's good. I love it. This is I haven't interviewed anybody that is doing this kind of work, and it's very cool. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you.
And it's all about lifting people, right? Like love this type of work because our, you know, the sports and the normal stuff is, you know, step on somebody to get back up, right? There's one winner, right? Second place is second place. This is
So,
such a great thing because everybody gets to win and everybody gets to be successful and
mhm,
everybody's feels good because when you're helping somebody else, you're helping yourself, right? When
mhm,
you're sharing stuff with somebody else, you're knowing it better, right? Like
mhm.
it's just such a win, 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 win. And
So even like I help moms, like stay-at-home moms are leaders, right? And I don't think a lot of people really recognize that, but they are leaders. So if I work when a stay-at-home mom or even a single mother, it doesn't necessarily have to be stay-at-home, but that's the first thing that I said, a stay-at-home mom. If I'm working with a stay-at-home mom and I'm getting her to recognize her greatness again,
yeah,
right? And recognizing that what she does is probably has the most value, then not only have I impacted her, but those children are gleaning from the realization of mom's reawakening again, right? So now she shows up even more prepared, even more of this mom that her children need. And whether that's 2 children or 3 children or 4 children she is leading, then that's 4 more additional lives that I've just had the ability to impact and to assist and come alongside. And then those 4 babies, when they go off to school,
yeah.
and now are in their classrooms or with their classmates or on the playground, and they are now impacting those. And so it's the ripple effect, right?
Love that. Yes, 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 it is.
That's the
Yay.
ripple effect.
Love that. Yep, that little drop in the water
Yep,
goes on forever.
that's it.
It's impactful. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. If you were to help one person, that's all that
Yep,
matters. Yeah,
yep.
really is. And you don't even know. You won't even
Don't
know
even know.
sometimes.
Yeah, you don't even know. But
Mhm.
you work with that one person, you put your best in it, you know that your heart is in it, and you lift up that person, you won't know what you just done until eternity. So like I said, it's moms and
That's the best
professionals and
gift in the whole world right
yeah.
there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Good for you. Good for you. Good for you.
Mhm,
Wow.
mhm.
So, tell us about the 5 buckets of leadership, speaking in the moment. You put that out
Yes.
about a year ago.
Yeah,
And
so that's my book on Amazon, also on my website also. So, if you can't already tell with me speaking about levels of consciousness, I'm into brain science,
I
right?
love
So,
that.
yes.
Love that
Um,
stuff.
yes, me too. I mean, I'm into the brain and how the brain works and, just really, I think it's a fascinating, right? I just really think that it's fascinating. And so in my studies and in my research and in my readings, I've learned that when your brain is under stress is when you're not probably you are not at your best ability to think logically and with reason because you are stuck in your instinctual survival mode. That's where you're operating from, or you're operating from your feelings, right?
Yeah.
Because of the rush of cortisol, stress hormones that are coming. It's you're gonna exactly you're gonna protect yourself, and that rush can come about from many different things, from nervousness, from anxiety, from feeling inadequate, insecurities. And when you're in situations that lean on those feelings, is when the stress levels kind of are heightened. And so leaders need to be able to speak succinctly in moments of crises at a drop of a hat. Leaders need to be able to speak clearly. If you have ever spoken in a moment where you got your palms felt sweaty, or you were asked to do some public speaking and you get nervous and you're like, oh my gosh. Or right now you have to do a press conference as a leader and you just were like, wait a minute, what are the questions? And the questions are off the fly and you get nervous in your palms, but you want to be able to sound like you are intelligent. I've learned how to teach you a trick to hijack your brain, reroute your neurotransmitters, so that way you can access that part of your brain which will help you speak in the moment and speak clearly. Um, it takes some practice,
Yeah.
but
But okay. So who doesn't need to know that? Right? Because
yeah.
we're all living in fight or flight. I've figured out that I've been in there my whole life.
Hmm.
My sister, she actually had Addison's disease, right? She
Mm,
burnt the adrenals right out. So, I
mm,
mean, and then, yeah, like what you're saying, like your eyes are part of your nervous system. So they like
Yeah.
dilate right away. Like within a second, as soon as you look at something, your eyes dilate apparently. And
Yes.
it's just wild what happens. And then and it goes and yeah,
Your,
it's just,
your whole body tightens.
yeah.
And so, and it's your brain, it's just your brain, receiving information in a way that says, okay, well, I need to protect you, I need to protect us. But if you can learn how to access the part of the brain that will allow you to think clearly in this moment and speak clearly, then who wouldn't want to do that? But it does take some work and some practice prior to the moment. It can't be done in the moment unless you've done the pre-work. And so the book is information and application at the same time. So as you're reading, at the end of the chapter, you have to do some work, right? And so when you can write in the book, because what we do know about writing is that when you are physically writing, it connects straight to your brain and you're more likely to remember, and it makes an imprint versus typing, so that's why it's important to still write, still take your notes, handwritten notes. It's still important to write down your vision, write down your thoughts, write down your goals. It's still important to journal by writing versus using your typewriter or your typewriter. You can tell how old I am. Using your laptop.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I got into the hairdressing course and dropped typing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I wish I would have learned now.
But that's why. So yeah.
And I love that information. And the other thing that I did some of the Joe Dispenza. Are you familiar with him? He's an athlete. He's a doctor, scientist, blah blah blah. Anyway, he's teaching this work like all over the world, thousands of people at a class. And I went to one, and it's that information. And when he's explaining something, he'll just stop, he'll say, okay, now turn to your neighbor and explain to them what I just said. Well, a lot of people just can't, because they just heard it, they're trying to take it in. But once you can explain it, he said, then you'll retain it. And then, like you said, if you can write it. Otherwise, this information that's all coming in that we're just getting exhausted from is for naught.
Yes.
Like if we're not doing what you're suggesting, then we're getting all this data. We're like, oh, that's nice. And then, 5 minutes later, what happened? But I don't remember that part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It's so important. And yeah. Well, you have great work that you're doing. I love it.
Thank you so much.
So anything else that you would like to share before we kind of wrap up? And I will make sure that all of your information is with this video, and that, people will know about your course and how to access all of that.
So yeah, just to add to it, the updated email address, I don't know if I gave that to you, was info@giantstep6llc.com. So that way people can reach out to me that way. But I'm here to help. I'm here to serve. I'm here to assist and support individuals, as well as be a speaker so that I can speak about this work as well, to get the message out there. Because it's important for us to not only lead our organizations, but lead ourselves as well, and lead our families. And we can only do that if we be intentional and then get a coach to assist. I'm not the only coach out there, but I am a great coach.
I get that. I'm sure everybody else does too. Yeah, you're a little powerhouse, but very, very nice, soft powerhouse, like very gentle,
Yes.
Some people are very, very powerful, but very in your face. You're very, you got nice, soft power way about you. So
thank you.
Yeah.
So that's it. And I'm just so grateful that I had the opportunity to speak with you and meet you. This is amazing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was great to meet you as well. I know I was reading this resume. I was like, holy Dinah, girl. It's just, it's impressive. And so good on you. I was busy having babies and running hair salons and stuff. So it was like,
but still, that's a big thing to do in here.
Yeah, it was 30 years of coaching and counseling right there. Yeah, it
Nice.
was a gift for sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So let's try and catch up. If you're got anything new that you come down the road, look me up
Okay.
and come and share it with us.
All right.
Okay.
Will do.
And I hope to see you soon.
Yes. Thank you so much and
Okay.
have a great day.
Thanks, Nisa. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.